Hey guys, and welcome to How to Paint Oily Metal on a Space Marine Captain. Alright, so today we're going to go through the process of building up this metal armor and, using the sepia shade and the Nuln Oil. Now, I've done this video before very early on in the channel's history, but I want to do an updated version of this, in line with my modern format, so you can get a better viewing of this. And we're going to do more videos for this Space Marine chapter as we go along, just like I've done for Custodes and my Stormcast. It follows the same basic principles of a main metallic color with some neutrals and blacks to support it with a pop color. I think it's a really great one for army painting, and this one's really fun and simple. So it doesn't really even use a lot of the color glazing that I use on the other ones. This one's just really basic, and it's something that everyone can do when they first start. So I really want to put this out there and get this into the mix of my video collection, so you've got something there that you can use. And as I said, we'll go further and do the full color scheme and all the other elements to this in other videos. I've already showcased all of the other elements in my other videos. Actually, if you go through any of the Stormcast or Custodes ones, the same processes apply. Neutrals to build up here on the grays and whites into the blacks, and color glazing into the black there on the shoulder pad, etc. So that's all there for you already. But I won't waffle on. We're going to get into this. It's a nice short video, but it will show you how to do it. So in prep, I've undercoated this black and then spray coated this with the lead belcher primer spray. And then just to bump up the shine a bit, I've gone back with the lead belcher, a watered down version, and just hit the top areas of it just to bring a bit more shine to it, because the lead belcher was a little bit dull when I sprayed it on. So just to bring a bit of shine to that metal, so we can begin, just to give it more luster. And then I've gone back through and just blacked out some of the areas for later painting, but that's not overly essential. It's up to you depending on what the rest of your model looks like. But the main thing is undercoat black, then spray undercoat with the lead belcher spray from GW, and then just if it looks a bit dull, touch it up with the lead belcher there just to bring back the shine, and then we're ready to start. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so to begin with, once we've got our lead belcher down, now we're going to begin the process of colouring that metal. So we've got that sepia shade there from GW and the Lamia medium, and we're going to do a mix of, it's roughly like 2-to-1 or 3-to-1, something like that. Basically, put a big dollop of that sepia down and a little bit of that Lamia medium, and just slowly mix them together as you're seeing me do. And you're wanting just a little bit more diluted version of the sepia wash, and we're going to do the same thing for the Nuln Oil as well. And the reason why we want to do that is we don't want to overly stain the surface. We want to get a nice soft staining and a progression building up. That's why we're using the brown and then into the black, and it's going to give us a modulation of color as you see me put this down. It is a full wash here, so I'm going over the whole model, and we're trying to direct the sepia wash to hit all of those grooves and depressions in the armor and give us a little bit of shadowing, but also on the flat areas too. And you're going to drag it into the creases. So the way the shades work as they dry is they're going to leave more pigment where you lift off the brush, and so you want to fade it into those recesses, so you get a nice soft transition. And so you're going to do that all over the armor. Now, one thing to point out here is that with the shade colors from GW, you want to use a medium to dilute it. You don't want to use water. If you use water, what will happen is it'll separate the pigments inside the shade color, and all the white pigments that are in there will be exposed, and as it dries, it'll leave a white residue. So don't use water. You need to use a medium. You could also possibly use contrast medium, although I haven't tried it, or another brand medium. That's fine. Just something to stabilize the pigments inside the shade colors as you're diluting them down. We're not overly diluting here, but we do want it a little bit thinner. We don't want it straight out of the pot. As I said, we're trying to build up a nice slow fade here so that we get a really good color. So once we've done that, then we'll move on to the Nuln Oil. Now, with the Nuln Oil, we're looking at the same process again. You'll see me come in here and dilute it down, and you're really just adding a little bit of extra depth. So the depth of color coming in with that Nuln Oil, again fading it into those creases, and we're looking for some nice modulation here. So you'll see a sort of browny black thing go on. Some of the areas now, as it dries, you'll get more of the sepia showing through on some of the flat areas, and just getting some really good shadowing going on in some of the deeper areas. You might go more heavy with the Nuln Oil, and just spending a bit of time with that surface and trying to complete the look. And this is going to give us a really lovely oily metal look, and something that we can now come back in and highlight. But we really want to spend a bit of time here and practice that technique and get some good shading going. And this is a really good preparation for later when you want to do more, like my color glazing steps that I show on other metallic surfaces or other non-metallic surfaces and other higher levels of painting, because this is all about paint control and brush control, which is perfect when you're starting out and great for army painting. You do this 100 times, you'll be really great at it at the end. So this is a step that you really want to practice, and it's going to help you a lot. And then once we've done all that, now we're looking at, the Stormhost Silver. Now we want to come back in and buff that surface up. So I've got the paper down, I've got my old scuffy brush that I'm going to use, and we're building in some highlights back into this surface. So the first type of highlight we're doing is a soft dry brush or directional dry brush. So you put the paint onto the brush, then you rub it all off onto the paper, and then you're brushing against the edges. So you want to pick out those edges and get a nice soft sort of rough highlight. And this is our first layer of highlighting to give us the shine back into that armor, because the shade colors will dull down the metallic surface and you'll lose some of that shine. And so we're going to come back in and just build this in. And so you see me go around and hit those edges, turn the model around, make sure you're comfortable, make sure you've got the model in a good position, hitting the edges, moving it around, hitting the edges, and you'll see me just build up that nice buffed surface. And so you'll see some shine back there, and that's really important. We don't want to overly dry brush this, so you don't want the paint very wet, you don't want to get streaking and that sort of thing. We're just trying to hit those edges, and on the flat areas just build that shine back a little bit, while still maintaining a lot of the darks and a lot of the shadows and the dark browns that are there. And so now we've got all that sorted out. Now we're into the final meat and potatoes of this, which is the highlighting step. And this is really important. So this is something that you want to slow down on. At the beginning, you're going to be a bit slow at this, but you will pick up speed as you go. You want a fine detail brush. You get that Stormhost Silver onto the palette, add a little touch of water with it, mix it up, and then twirl the brush off so you don't have too much paint on the brush, so you can see the tip. And then we're going to start line highlighting the main volumes, the main surface areas, so the big edges that you can see. So that's on the top. In the case of this Space Marine, it's on the top of the backpack, the legs, the armor, the front chest plate, the tops of the hands. You don't have to paint every single line edge. We're not trying to line highlight the entire thing, but all the surfaces that are facing the sky, where the sun is where the sun would be hitting this. If it was a real person, it'd be hitting it from the top. The sun's above, so that's the kind of thing you're doing. You're not trying to hit every single surface, but all the main lines. And so what you're going to be left with is another modulation of layering of paint, where you've got soft, rough highlights from the dry brushing, and now then some really hard edge line highlights from the brush. So using the side of the brush to hit the edge, or using the tip of the brush and dragging it down towards you, you're going to get these sharper points. And so that's drawing focus. And what that does overall is it makes it more interesting to look at. So as your eye looks at the surface, you now have something more interesting, and your eye will generally likes detail and will rest on things like that and look at them more intently. And so naturally, as you look at your mini, you will think it's more interesting, because it now has multiple colors in it, and it has multiple levels of detail, of focus of those highlights. And that's one way to get a little bit of depth and interest into your model without having to spend a huge amount of time doing it. And so it's really good for doing army painting. You'll see me do that a lot. I'll do an under highlighting step of dry brush, and then I'll come back in with a line highlight over the top to sharpen it up. And that removes a lot of the roughness that you see when something is only dry brushed. It now has those two levels to it, and that just improves the quality of the model overall. And so that's it. And now you're there. Now the next steps beyond this would be doing color glazing and other little and weathering and other details. But for an army painting technique, this is beautiful and a great place to begin. And there we go, oily metal all done on a Space Marine. Let's take a look. So you can see how it comes up. I mean, it's really fast. You'll get faster at this. And as I said, it's a really great starting technique to learn about how to, vary up your painting methods and get a higher result. And this is something that a new person can get to on this armor. You can get very close to this. And as I said, the more of these you do, the better your dexterity gets for doing those line edge highlights. And that's really the thing that really brings it out and gives you that look, especially on Space Marines. And it's going to help you in the other areas to get these kind of line edge highlights going, that sort of thing, to really give that nice sharp detail. And it'll just lift your whole game on those other areas. And I think that's why I really like it. Metallics are one of those great ones to start with because they are quite forgiving, and you can get a lot of that baseline technique down as you're learning, in an easy way where, it forgives you a little bit if you've, messed it up here and there. You can turn it into battle damage and that sort of thing, and put some little streaks and marks and so on for scratches. And, it just hides all those little imperfections that you might have done along the way. I certainly do it. You'll see a lot of these little scratches. Well, there'll probably be a little blob of a highlight that I sort of over highlighted, and I just turn it into a little scratch, and there you are. It's all good. No one knows. So yeah, I really love doing this. It's a lot of fun. You'll see more of these videos on this Space Marine chapter and the color scheme, so I can go more in detail with it if you're interested in this particular design or paint scheme anyway. But as I said, I've got many more on the channel, so go take a look at those. The Stormcast and the Custodes, they all follow the same basic principles of a metallic color, neutrals and blacks for the supporting tones, and then usually a pop color to focus on, so it draws your eye in. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'll leave a nice image for him at the end of the paint list as I normally do. But I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit that like button, subscribe button. It really helps me out. And I guess I'll catch you on the next one.